Welcome to another little Writer Wednesday where I talk about what I'm writing, what I'm reading, things about writing that I want to talk about that I've been thinking about for a while. And today I want to talk about something that I have been thinking about for a long time, years in fact, and that is whether or not I should unpublish my very first books. A little bit more about me. My name is B.B. Morgan, also Beatrice B. Morgan. I write fantasy, romantic fantasy, a little bit of Gaslamp. I've recently started dabbling in some horror, some dark fantasy. But my very first books that I published, my first book that I wrote, Devil's Blood. Hold on. I have a copy. Wee! Well, I'm sitting on my foot. Look how tall I am. So my very first book, Devil's Blood. I self-published this in 16? Watch me. I've been saying things about myself that are not true lately. On accident. 16. I published this in 2016. I wrote this after I graduated college. I had the 6 months between, graduation and, student loans are due, you have to find a job. So I spent that 6 months writing this book, learning how to write a book, just diving into the writing community and learning all these things about how to publish a book that I had never heard before, like querying and agents and how to find an agent, all that fun stuff. I spent a while getting beta readers. I did some critique partners. I did not get it professionally edited because I was first and foremost unemployed. There was no income coming in, and I wasn't going to ask my parents for money to get a book edited. I later found a job working part-time at a library, making about $11 an hour. So still, professional editing, not in the budget. There was no budget. I was broke. So I wrote this book. I wrote the first draft in that first 6 months, and looking back, that really was my full-time job of writing book, which was really nice. So I spent at least the next year or so, working with critique partners, revising and revising and revising, and querying. I spent that time querying also. I queried every agent that claimed to be a literary agent who represented fantasy. One of the biggest mistakes I made that I'm aware of now, that I wasn't aware of at the time, was that I did not know what my genre was. Looking at it now, it's very clear a Gaslamp fantasy, but I didn't know that at the time. I didn't know the word Gaslamp. I knew what it was, but I hadn't heard that word before. I knew it wasn't steampunk, and it's also kind of the romantic fantasy. Again, didn't know that term at the time. That term really hasn't been used as prolifically as it has been the last couple years, which is great. I love romantic fantasy. That is the genre that I love the most. It's my favorite. All my stuff is romantic fantasy. This is an embarrassing story I'm about to say. I queried this as urban fantasy to a couple agents because I didn't know what urban fantasy was. I'm like, oh, it's in an urban kind of setting. It's urban fantasy. It's not urban fantasy. Not at all. I don't like urban fantasy, as it turns out. Because you give a vampire a cell phone and it just ruins something for me in the fantasy element. So I queried, I think, 200 plus agents for this book. Not a single full request, not a single partial request. Most of them never got back to me at all. And so I was like, oh, they clearly just don't know what they're missing. So I self-published, which is not what you should do, guys. Self-publishing should not be the backup plan. Okay, that's not what you should do. That's what I did. That's what a lot of authors do. Don't. Because here, real quick, time out. Both self-publishing and traditional publishing are both perfectly viable ways of publishing. They both have their pros and their cons. They both require work. They both require a different kind of work. Which one is best for you just depends on what your career goals are. For me, yes, I want to make a living doing this, but I also really like having all the creative control. I also really like the idea, on the flip side of that for traditional publishing, of having someone else make all those decisions so that I don't have to. That also sounds really nice. So maybe one day when I'm tired of doing all this, try again for traditional publishing. I don't know. So I self-published this book. And this was not the first cover of this book. Because again, I was poor. I had not been working very long. I did not have a large savings. I also embarrassing now that I'm looking back, made my own cover through what at the time was Create Space. Their cover creator didn't look good, okay? It was a very plain text with like just devil's blood written on it and like the typewriter typeface. I've seen worse book covers, but it wasn't good, alright? It wasn't good. No one bought it, only my friends and family bought it. Hi, Suze. I have the heater going, you're letting out all the heat. Yeah, you're letting out all the heat. Looking back, I don't know if, like, had I just kind of pushed this book aside and moved on to something else, would I actually have moved on to something else? Would I have kept going? Because I didn't stop with this book. There is... Well, this is actually book 3. I didn't do this correctly. And then book 2. I wrote 3 of these. For 3 of them. Technically, I wrote 4. Book number 4 is still sitting on my computer. I'm proofreading it, and it's just slow going. And I've also designed new covers for all of them, because I don't even think the cover designer that made these makes book covers anymore. And they don't sell very well. I don't advertise them. So it's like, I'll just make some quick covers in Canva and just call it a day, because I just... But then, I wrote a standalone. This little thing. It's kind of a romantasy, pirates, blah blah. But anyway, so I wrote this one. So I wrote these 4 books. These are the 4 books that I self-published starting in 2016, 17, 18, 19? Hold on. Okay, this one was 17. Pirates came out in 17. Devil's Blood 2 also came out in 17. So apparently I self-published 2 books in 2017. Cool, cool. And this one would have been 18. So 16, 17, 17, 18. Because in 19, that's when I found my small press, and that's when Stars and Bones came out. Or the first book in Stars and Bones came out. Here's my current dilemma. These books, if I could get... I can't, my arm doesn't move that way. Get them in frame. These books, I am not as proud of these books as I once was. I see their flaws. My writing has improved tremendously. My ability to plot a story has improved tremendously. And just my ability to structure a plot, structure a book, and just keep the pacing going has improved tremendously. And my dilemma is, should I unpublish these books? I have thought about unpublishing them for a long time, because I don't want these books to be the first books that readers find by me, and then they assume that I'm just not very good at, like, writing, and then they don't read anything else by me. Like, I don't want someone to come across this Carolyn Eversole book and be like, wow, this is not very well written. Oh, she wrote another series? I'm not going to read that. She's not a very good writer. Because compared to, like, these first books, Stars and Bones, oh, it's shiny. These are matte covers. This is a shiny cover. Is so much better. The writing is better. The characters are more rounded out. The plot is better. My one caveat with Stars and Bones, or specifically Thief in the Castle, is the pacing is a little slow. But that's just, I think, how I write. I think my pacing is just a little slow. But I would much rather readers find this book first, rather than stumbling across Devil's Blood and being like, wow, this isn't very good. I don't want to read anything else by that author. No, I want this to be the first introduction to me as a writer. Because Like, I have these books, Stars and Bones, Heart of Stone trilogy, and especially looking at, like, Devil's Blood in comparison to my latest book, The Blood Enchantress. Blood Enchantress is so much better written. The plot is better, the characters are better, the stakes are clear from the start. You know where the book is going, within the first couple chapters. I don't want these to be a stain on me as a writer. I have already revised Devil's Blood, I think 5 or 6 times to make it better. And yes, the writing within this book is better than it was when I first published it in 2016. Hold on, I'm having a memory resurface of I went to a job interview in Milwaukee in an attempt to get out of Southern Illinois, right? And I just stayed up there for the weekend. I had like a little weekend to myself. Not weekend, I just stayed up there for a night. And I brought a copy of Devil's Blood to read so I could work on another book or something. I think my goal was to, reread book 1 so I can work on like another book in the series. And I brought Devil's Blood. This has been several years ago, by the way, this book. And I couldn't get through the first paragraph because it was so horribly written. And I was just devastated because I thought that was good when I wrote it. And it turns out it wasn't. And like looking back at that first draft, I'm like, I see. While agents did not pick this book up, it wasn't very good. So this copy now that's out and about, the only one you can get, is much better than like the very first one that I published. I am more proud of this one than I was the first edition. If I'm not proud of these books, if I am no longer proud enough of these books to like tell people to read them, should I unpublish them? And I have put off this decision. I have put it off because my brain, or like I guess my writer brain is like, no, I wrote these books, I published these books, I want to display them proudly on my shelf. The entire time we were working on Stars and Bones, that was my excuse. I didn't want to unpublish them because I saw them as an accomplishment. Now I'm starting to see them not necessarily as the accomplishment that they were, but more like the macaroni art that you make in kindergarten that you're real proud of at the time, but then you're looking back on it, 20 years later, and you're like, why do I still have that? Can I not throw it away? I don't want to keep my macaroni art of books. Like I want, it's real shiny. I want Stars and Bones to be the first entrance that readers make into like my writing repertoire. This is where I want people to start. I don't want them to start with Devil's Blood because they probably won't like it. And I haven't even looked at Caroline Eversole since I published it in 2017. It's probably horrible. I guess I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what I should do. One, they're not making me any money anyway. No one reads them. They're on Kindle Unlimited, all of them. But somebody read like the first couple pages of like enough of Devil's Blood that I made like 46 cents one month. Which, woo! But then they didn't continue through book 2, so that tells me that they didn't like the series enough to continue. So that tells me that these books are not enjoyable to read, and I don't want my name attached to them if like readers are going to find these and to be like, wow, I'm not reading anything by this B.B. Morgan. Oh, she wrote this other series? Yeah, I'm not going to read that. When this series is so much better. And it's finished. Devil's Blood is not finished. Because this book feels more put together. It feels more established. Blood Enchantress feels more established. Devil's Blood, it reads like a book that a 20-year-old wrote. Because it was. And like there's like all of these books, they read like books that were written by 20-year-old, by a young woman with no world experience. And I think I have a deeper well of like writing expertise now. I have more experience. I am reading extensively in comparison to what I was reading when I wrote these. And I don't want I don't want these books to be the first books that readers read by me, and for them to assume that this is the best that I have, because it's not. This is the worst that I have. Is it worth putting in all of the time and energy and money into trying to make these better when I can just put them aside, say, like, these were the first books that I wrote, they weren't very good, putting them aside and working on my next book? Because in all reality, in all honesty, The Devil's Blood and Stars and Bones have a lot of similarities. And there's a lot of, like, plot points that are very similar. And if I try to finish Devil's Blood, if I go back in and rework it, am I just going to be writing Stars and Bones over again? Or do I just consider Devil's Blood like the very, very first draft of what we would be? Do I consider Devil's Blood just like as like a first attempt at writing Stars and Bones? Do I just push it aside? Because if you've read Thief in the Castle, you've read Devil's Blood, to be honest, but Devil's Blood is just set in like a gas lamp universe. You know, when I think about it like that, yeah, I should just unpublish these and just not get rid of them, but just put them on a special shelf. Especially Caroline Ebersole. That is the book that I am the least proud of. There are so many other books out there that are well written and worth your time that I don't want somebody to like read one of these and then decide that it was not worth their time. You know what I mean? I don't want to waste the reader's time. I don't want to break the one unbreakable rule of being an author, as said by what's his name? Kurt Vonnegut? Was that one of his rules? Like, he had a whole list of rules, and the only one that was never broken was don't waste the reader's time. Right? He had a whole bunch of like a list of rules, and then like he goes through them, and then he's like, and then Flannery O'Connor broke every single one of these except number whatever, which was don't waste the reader's time. Right? I'm making that up. I miss writer class, writer school. All my like creative writing classes where I learned these things. That was my favorite. I enjoyed it. I wish like I could take those kinds of classes, like writer classes, like writing classes, without like paying through the nose to go to like a university. Like, why can't we just have these classes for fun? You know? And I'm sure they're out there. But they're probably like all like the workshops and like the seminars that I get emails for that are like on some random Tuesday afternoon, and I'm like, did none of the authors work? Like, I have a job that I have to be at. I can't just not go to work on a Tuesday afternoon. I have other obligations. That always irritates me. But that's a different rant. So let me know what you think I should do with these books. I'm leaning toward just unpublishing them, getting it over with, so that way readers can't stumble across one of these first and then hate me forever because they don't like these books. I'm leaning toward unpublishing. But that's a scary word, and it kind of scares me a little bit. So that was my rant for today. That was all my thoughts. That's something I've been thinking about for a while. Stay tuned for more author advice, writing advice, publishing advice, or just, it's not really advice, it's more of me just talking things, thinking out loud. I don't quote me for publishing advice. I don't feel adequate. I don't feel adequately equipped with knowledge to give publishing advice. I don't know, that writing advice maybe. I could probably help you out with that, but like publishing itself, I don't think I'm the person to give you some advice. Ask me about the writing stuff. I could probably handle writing advice because there's so many other books out there. Like, am I just gonna be like patting these books off camera and there's like this doof doof doof? It's me touching these books. I like the sound.